Welcome to the Dealing with Goliath podcast. The mission of Dealing with Goliath is to sharpen the psychological edge in negotiation, ethical influencing, and high impact conversation for business leaders who want to be more effective under pressure, uncover hidden value, and build greater connection and business relationships, all while increasing profitability. This is the short form espresso shot of insight podcast interview to boost business performance using our 5 questions in around about 15 to 20 minute format. My guests today are Ciaran and Rachel McKenna. This is a first for the show. We're having 2 people on. It's very exciting. Ciaran and Rachel run Wood Hazel Sales and Marketing Management Consultancy. Ciaran boasts a robust career in senior management and sales leadership, known for his excellent track record in boosting profit growth under various market conditions. He's recognized for his great listening skills, intuition, and fearless commitment to accountability, often asking the tough questions that drive progress. He is profoundly supportive, always considering the holistic development of his clients. Rachel McKenna is a seasoned marketing professional and mentor with a strong commercial sense, having cultivated her expertise primarily in the financial services sector across the UK and Ireland, alongside experiences in retail and startups, which has equipped her to lead marketing teams highly successfully. She values the authentic qualities of individuals and champions the belief that our unique differences enhance our collective strengths. Ciaran and Rachel, welcome to the show.
Lovely to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Well, it's great to have you on. As I said, it's a very interesting dynamic you have because, you know, one of you is sales expertise, the other is marketing expertise. Some people see them as different. Other people see them as the same coin, but just different sides, different perspectives. So let's just start on that. I mean, can you explain that dynamic, how you work together?
Well, our background is that we both went to the UK back in the 80s as graduate trainees, and I ended up in sales, and Rachel then started in sales but ended up in marketing. So we both ended up through graduate recruitment schemes and learned all we could learn whilst deciding whether that was the career that we wanted. A lot of firms don't give you that time these days. You know, it was 2 or 3 years before you generally had to specialize, I think. So I always loved sales, and sales management in particular was my favorite role. And Rachel?
Yeah, I've always worked alongside salespeople, but with obviously with the marketing. And for me, marketing I've always enjoyed because you have to understand the full business, and it links in across the whole business, and for me it's all, I think, and that's where when you were asking about the link, I think at the end of the day we're all linking towards the customer. So if the customer is at the center, the marketing and the selling all have to work together towards supporting and helping the customer at the end of the day. That's what we're all driving towards, is to these important customers and keeping them happy and maximizing, you know, the opportunity there that they unfold. So for me, selling and the marketing have to work side by side and link together. Yeah, there was times where when I worked in marketing function, I'd be giving out about the selling. They don't understand, and selling and equally marketing. The salespeople would be saying, "Oh, salespeople, the marketeers haven't got a clue." But the reality is, we all have to collaborate and work together to actually, and they have to land, because there's so much. Marketing is kind of a longer term kind of viewpoint. And the selling is really taking all those great elements of marketing and bringing it to life and making it happen and closing those sales. So that's my view.
It's a very interesting one, because one of the things I do with a lot of clients, particularly in even semi-large organizations, even middle-sized organizations, is have conversations with people in other departments and literally say, go for a cup of coffee and look. Ask them what they do, what I do that ruins their day, and vice versa. And I'd imagine there's an awful lot of conversations that we had between people in marketing, people in sales, and an awful lot of companies, right? There's that knock-on effect that they probably don't realize.
Sometimes they need to be listening, though, and to be hearing what the others say. A lot of the time you'll find salespeople will go in and they'll say, the world according to sales, or the marketeers will say, oh, the salespeople, they're out there, they're doing this. they need to cultivate a culture of listening and understanding just what the other can bring. And so our aspect has always been about teamwork, and actually Rachel is actually better at sales than I am from the point of view of no, but she's much more specific, and she's a great planner, and she's a finisher. I'm very good with blue sky, and I'm good with sales management and helping others to do it. So we kind of feel there's a bit of marketeer in all of us. There's a bit of sales in all of us, and in fact, sometimes your salespeople can be your best marketeers because they're the ones coming back, giving you a lot of information about just what the market is saying and what the clients are saying. So it's
I think that's really, really important from a marketing point of view, is that the opportunity to get up close with your customer or your prospects, and even feeling what's going on in the market. You just, the amount of money that corporate companies spend on market research, and in a small business, you have that very close at hand. It's actually really powerful, because it means you can adapt really quickly. You can change things, and you can react, which is
it's a beautiful point, because as you said, they're right there on the ground having the conversation with the customer, the prospect, or the client, as you said, and able to gauge not even the reality, but maybe even how things are shifting, how those perspectives need to evolve.
Yeah,
definitely.
And so product development, service developments, it's so important that sales realize that actually they're the eyes and ears, and they're feeding that back. And the best people to be listening are the marketeers, because they understand, okay.
Yeah, and even the marketeers who have actually driven the branding and the messaging through, it's important, and that is driven through into the selling and the messaging that's gone, and the interaction, and the and what's actually being handed over to the end user and to the customer, and then that whole customer service. They all have to lend themselves, and there has to be that, in an ideal world, it just works seamlessly, and you have that consistency across from start to finish. And that's what we're all, I suppose that's what all businesses are trying to do. Yeah.
And so our little thing with regard to ourselves is that we promote ourselves as sales and marketing together, and you can get two for the price of one, from the point of view that you're not just getting sales, or you're not just getting marketing, or sometimes people don't know what their problem is, and so having people there who can actually tease things out, which it makes such a difference, and we're not shy of an opinion, so it's always good to have.
It's a very, very good point that you're dealing with it. It's kind of a point of differentiation, because oftentimes you get, as you said, a marketing person in to advise on that, or you get a salesperson in to advise on that, but they're missing a huge chunk of that equation. And as I said, when it's more integrated, one would imagine it covers more bases, is more accurate. So the solutions you come up with are better fit, I would imagine. So just on that, who would you say your ideal clients are, and what's the biggest challenge they tend to face?
We work really well with small business owners and their teams, and what we find is that when they're setting out, particularly, we call them the professional reluctant salesperson. So they're expert in what they do. They've gone out and got their training, and they've set up this amazing business, whether they're an accountant or physio or whatever. They're really good at that, but they haven't necessarily had the expertise in selling and promoting and marketing themselves. And they've forgotten in some ways that actually what makes them different is them. So, there's lots of accountants out there, but they are the difference to their business. So they need to get comfortable being brought to the front of the business. And that isn't necessarily somebody's comfort zone, particularly setting out. So we need to give them the confidence to actually get out there and start having the conversations. Because when you're starting in the sales in particular, it's kind of having the confidence to start those engagements. And then as they start to have things, we're great believers in experimenting. Just go out there and give it a try. Just get started. And what you need to get started. For some people, they have this perception that selling is, I can't sell. Yuck, I don't like it. It's because they have a mindset around what they perceive selling to be. And what we try to do is we believe there's lots of different approaches to selling. It's about finding the one that works for you, and one that's going to work to get you going.
And in the extreme cases, we will actually speak to people and they'll say, "Oh, I hate selling." And so we have to go back to basics and say, "So what is selling?" Oh, well, and so what actually is it that you do? Well, I love helping my customers and I love doing that. So is that not selling? Do you know, it is literally getting people to frame it where they're comfortable to be themselves. Because as Rachel said, once you're yourself and you're your best self and you're confident that you can go out and you're happy to help someone, they're the best salespeople. Because the next thing then is about providing the service, and the next thing then is about providing the backup just in case things do go wrong, so people can understand that it's not always going to go smoothly. Issues can happen, but it's how you cope with it, how you deal with it. It isn't about just going in and wham bam gone. It's the overall package, and in particular, if it's something that you want to repeat and that people want to come back to you, then you need to be in the mode of how can I help you. So we help people to frame things.
Yeah, and when they're starting out, it is about getting them going. But then as they start to develop their business and they're looking to scale up, it's being able to adapt what they have, maybe look at their structures, their processes, their engagement with their current clients, and see how they need to tweak things or add to it and where their focus needs to. It's all about where they're focusing to get them to the next step or get them to where their ultimate dream is. So it's about keeping them moving forward and, developing, so that, because in selling and even in the whole marketing, it is all about momentum, motivation, resilience as well. I think resilience is an important thing to maintain that momentum.
And just that brings us neatly to, what are the common mistakes that many people make when they're trying to solve those challenges, before they find you, what are they doing that isn't working out? Because this is often when people are listening, they go, "Oh, that's me." So
Well,
what are some of those symptoms?
One of the symptoms, one of the classic ones, is they feel they have to be something other than themselves. I have to be this image, or they hide behind a phone, or they hide behind a camera, online, and they almost have a fear of interacting, and or they feel they have to tell them everything rather than finding out what the customer wants and hearing it and having a conversation. This is something you'll feel quite passionately about, Al, because it is about being in the shoes of the person that's on the end of what you're talking to them about, and actually understanding it's not a competition to tell them how much you can in a short space of time, or coming across as being really confident. It's about being the best version of yourself, but more importantly, using all the things that you have going for you, which is your listening, your feeling, your intuition. So it's not just about talking, or it's not just about telling.
I think the other thing, Al, is that, and this is where the marketing and the selling needs to work alongside each other. Sometimes people start off with the marketing and they get this fantastic website and they get this amazing brand, and it looks, and they have their their socials just looking really, really, really professional, and then suddenly they have to rock up at a meeting, and there's the pressure to kind of maintain that sort of facade, and it's not really who they are. So that's why sometimes we say, well, actually, is your marketing and your branding reflecting who you are? And that's sometimes where that's why we believe that, well, I believe quite strongly, particularly when you're starting your business, don't spend too much money straight off. Get out there and have the conversation and just get a feel for how you want to show up. I give the perfect example of when I moved out of the corporate world. It took me a little while to step out of the corporate branding kind of mindset, because I'd spent so many years sitting behind my compliance and legal, and the fact that you had to be the company brand, and suddenly when we stepped into Wood Hazel, we were the brand. And how did we want to show up? Did we want to be that we probably were very professional. I probably rather than, and it took us a while to kind of go, well, actually, we want to look professional, but in a more real way. So we kind of had to shift our approach. And I think that's some of the things that we notice with people. And that's where, and it's totally understandable that's so where the kind of the nervousness then comes when people have to go out and put themselves front of their business if it's not aligned with what the business looks like.
It's a great point. I mean, it's a lot of, some people call, branding, or that sense beneath the marketing nearly, is, what people think of when they think of you. What's your reputation? What words do you want to spring into mind? Adjectives do you want to spring into mind in a prospect's head when they think of you? And as you said, when you think of it from that point of view, it makes it an awful lot more, well, real and relatable, rather than, as I said, falling into that trap of a beautiful looking website. But then you're setting up an expectation that when you arrive in the door, you're probably trying to meet, and then neither work because you're not being terribly authentic self, and this thing doesn't look anything maybe personable, snazzy as it might. Yeah.
Or they test you and they try you, and your service and your staff who are supplying the service aren't up to what they perceive you to be.
Absolutely. I was interviewing an investigator, so literally a guy who trained the FBI. And so it's that end of negotiation, where it's far more confrontational half the time. But he does it for business and different businesses and corporates. But it was exactly what you were saying there. It was exactly about test. A lot of the time you're testing, is this person speaking with integrity? Because it looks good and it sounds good, but maybe you think, oh, there's something a bit off here. And that's where, as you said, when the person talking to you doesn't really match the branding or the marketing, you think there's a disconnect. So which is accurate, which isn't, or is any of it true?
Yeah, because even sometimes you kind of notice where people start out wanting to be projecting themselves as bigger than they are.
Right.
They think they have to be a we, or they have to be part of a big team. There's different strengths in being just a solopreneur than there is as being part of a team. But you have to decide which, because if, again, it's that perception. If you say that you give the perception through your marketing that you're part of a big team, and then actually it's just you, you might just get caught out, as Ciaran said, along the customer service element of the side of it. So it's kind of thinking that whole journey through, and understanding the customer journey and what you actually want your customer to experience, and making sure that is, following through on who you are as well, and that you can actually, I think, because at the end of the day, exactly what you were saying, this ethical approach has to, I think if you go with that sort of basis, you can't go far wrong, because you'll try and do things, upfront and honestly, and say it as it is, because I do think if you're doing it on your own, you bring in a level of expertise that maybe, if you're part of a group, there's different dynamics that you have to think about, because you might have a more junior person that, that may not be able to look after that client, but they were thinking, oh, I was getting you, it's, so you have to think about all of that as well.
And it's knowing your limitations. It's knowing what you can, but more importantly, to know what you can't do. And sometimes there are orders you should lose if you can't fulfill it, because you're going to put yourself under stress, you're going to put yourself under pressure, or, as I say, you could be endangering what could be a great relationship by starting it off on the wrong foot. So it's these are all the things. But the sales and the marketing is all about trying to be the best that you can be and doing your best, but make sure that the service that you are providing or the product that you're going to sell matches what you've told them. Because, as I say, reputation is such a difficult thing to change if it goes south on you.
Yeah, I think the other thing we find a lot of people are scared of is the no. I kind of think that and that's where we do talk about the resilience, but it is okay to get a no, because you're not everybody is going to buy from you, and not everybody, and that's okay, because it might, and I think it's getting comfortable with that, because actually we always say it's the maybes that are actually more difficult to manage, because you don't know whether you've actually given them enough value, if you've actually explained, if you've actually heard them enough, if you've actually need to spend more time on that. Whereas a yes or a no is a definite, it's going one way. And it might be a no for now, You just not, so there's different ways of looking at it. So again, we always encourage people to try and get to some sort of an answer, because that's powerful. If nothing else, it's really valuable from a marketing point of view. You can kind
Absolutely.
of, you can use that to go back into your whole process and see if you need to adapt things.
Very good and excellent stuff. I mean, there's a lot of
There's a
stuff
lot.
there. There's a lot of stuff there, but there's some key principles which are excellent. And do you have a valuable free action the audience can implement that will help them? So you're talking about being in alignment. You're talking about, having your branding and then into your marketing reflect who you are and what you stand for, at least want to stand for, and how you want to do business. Is there anything else that you would recommend? Maybe that doesn't solve the problem for people, but at least puts them in that right trajectory.
Yeah, I think definitely spending time thinking about, I think it's as Oscar Wilde says about, there's only one of you, everyone else has been taken. So don't undervalue the strength that you bring, and being the best that you can be is what actually is the difference to your business. And equally, your client, respect them as being an individual as well. So if when you're meeting them, if you can, we often talk about stepping into their shoes or empathizing and hearing them. So there's almost the strength of you turning up as your real self, and getting in and really tapping into through listening and asking
and finding
out the curious questions, who they really are, and then seeing if you can help them. I think, so we always say it's the relationship, and really having that honest rapport and that connection is where the magic really happens.
And sometimes, you mentioned about a free little thing. A free little thing to do sometimes is just to do a little survey. So you're actually hearing and have some questions and be quite open about it, and to ask what they're looking for. So it can help people to get over their nervousness as well, where you're actually asking questions, but you're listening, and you've asked permission to take notes, and say, okay. And so the customer is actually feeling, oh, they're listening and they're interested. And then you adapt what you're going to offer in relation to what you've heard. So it is about using your senses, not going in and telling all the time. It's about listening, hearing, and then adapting what you're going to do in light of what you learn.
Very good. Do you have a valuable free resource that you could direct people to that would help them with this?
Yeah, we have our YouTube, which again you get through our website, which I know you'll probably put up at the end of this. And we have a lot of kind of tips, little short videos around kind of active listening and tips on how to have those conversations and close those sales. So they're probably good starting points for people if they just want to.
And they're free.
Have a look at.
Anytime we've appeared on a podcast, if we can, we throw it up there and people can have a look.
Excellent,
and as I say, in some cases it's an hour.
That's woodhazel.ie is the website. What's the name of your YouTube channel? Is it the same?
It would be Wood Hazel as well, but
YouTube.
Yeah, Wood Hazel Consulting. Yeah, but if they get to the website, they'll probably go into the contact us, and they'll find the link there to our YouTube as well.
Excellent. And what would be your number one insight or principle you could offer on how to negotiate or build rapport and connection with a prospect or a client? I know we've covered quite a few of these already, but I'm trying to get more out of it.
Well, I suppose that it really is about actually being in the moment when you're actually having the conversation, and actually not getting ahead of yourself or not letting past prejudices. I think it's treating it as a conversation and actually using your time when you're with them to appreciate who they are, what they are, and not to see it as oh, I've got to win this, or not to see it as, oh, what's the best thing for me. A negotiation, as you know, is win-win from the point of view that both parties have to feel like it's been a worthwhile thing, even if it's just a one-off sale. It does really help, because again, as we said earlier, reputation is everything. So if you have a reputation for being someone who's going, oh, and suddenly I looked and that wasn't the price, or it is about going in, listening, hearing, being part of the conversation, and actually making the most of it, enjoying yourself, which again, people don't do often enough, where you can actually smile and actually enjoy the process, because it is just a conversation. But the key is to actually understand who they are, what they are, and see where you come to at the finish.
Yeah,
I
I think
love
it's
that.
also, yeah, I think it's also remembering that you're selling something, but they're buying something, and there's a slightly different, so they're coming at it from a slightly different point of view as well. So that's why it's important to see it from their point of view as well.
Absolutely. I love those principles, very much in line with my own, seeing it from the other side. But also I just love that something that's often not mentioned, I just want to double down on it, is that idea of being fully present in the live conversation, because there's nothing worse than people talking off a script. Like, yeah, you can have your points that you want to make sure they understand, or the questions you want to make sure to ask to get, the prospect or the client's thinking and how they're feeling about this. Of course, there's structure there. But as I said, the amount of people that don't actually listen to the live conversation, it's phenomenal. It makes all the difference. So,
And on top of that, it's don't be afraid to use people's names. Don't be afraid to, if you are someone who uses hand gestures, as long as it's not too much, but be yourself, and as I say, be in the moment, and actually the best conversations usually come from people relaxing and actually being there. And it's amazing how often the natural conversation takes you to whereas if you think you've got it planned, and oh, why didn't I say that? Of course you should review after you've done it, and
Sure.
and say, what could I have said, or what did that's all part of the process. But don't spend your whole time thinking or saying, oh damn, I didn't say that, and or I should have, be in the conversation and then review it afterwards and see how it went.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you very much. It's been fabulous having you on the show. So where can people learn more about you?
Again, if you want to visit us on our website, which is woodhazel.ie, or we're both on LinkedIn, we'd love to connect and set up a conversation.
Excellent stuff. And
That'd be
as I
great.
said, your all your videos go on YouTube as well.
On
So it's a
YouTube as
huge
well, yeah.
resource there.
Yes.
Super stuff. Well, great to have you on the show. Thank you very much, Ciaran
Thanks
and
for
Thanks a
Rachel
million
McKenna.
now. See you again. Thank you.